everyone, and welcome back to another week of What's Kraken. This week, we're joined by Alicia Taggio, who is our Director of Customer Success and all-around fan marketing champion here at Tradable Bits. Today, we're going to be diving into social trends for 2022. So thank you so much for joining us today, Alicia. And I guess we'll just dive right into it. So the biggest question that I feel like most people have with the folks that come on our show is kind of get like a history of where they started and how they've gotten to where they are today. So can you tell me a little bit about your background and how you've ended up here at Tradable Bits where you are?
Sure, definitely. So yeah, I've been working in the marketing space now for the past decade, actually, working with various B2B and B2C brands, including MTV, Flight Center, Hootsuite, now Tradable Bits. And I sort of stumbled into the online marketing space when I was working in television at MTV and really experimenting with leveraging Twitter and social media into our live TV shows to get sort of real-time fan feedback and engagement. And that's really when I realized the power of social media. And I switched over from the production side of television to the digital side, where I learned about content marketing and social advertising. And I really started guinea pigging new roles at each company that I was at over the years. And in most cases, I was the very first social media specialist or content manager that these companies had ever hired. So it was sort of one of those roles that I didn't really have a mentor to look up to see how they did things. I sort of had to pave my own path. And that really involved me just staying on top of the trends, staying on top of how the industry was moving, what Facebook was doing, what Twitter was doing, et cetera, over the years, and really just adapting and trying things. And it's kind of led me to where I am today, which is, now I get to be on the other side where I sort of help our partners really optimize their strategies. And, I'm able to use my experience to help support them in their goals. So it's really rewarding.
Yeah, it's really interesting from like the perspective of how important social is today for you to have been like there at the start of when it was becoming a role. And I still think like even today, there is still that challenge of not taking social as seriously as we can, because it's such like a mammoth task for somebody to be in charge of, and it has so much repercussions, but we're still like, oh, it's a little bit just social today. So I guess like from that perspective, like working within the industry for so long, like with our partners and things that are coming up, like what are some of the changes that you've seen over the last few years when it comes to their strategy and their fan marketing strategy? And then obviously like addressing the elephant in the room, like what are some of the ways that they were able to pivot over the pandemic?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the biggest elephant in the room was the iOS 14 rollout. And that update really centered on ad tracking, and it now gives fans more control over their data and how they are being tracked and advertised to. So this really impacted ad targeting and tracking for a lot of our partners that use Facebook and Instagram for their paid social. But we were able to help fill in the gaps with first-party purchasing data, whether that was merch or ticketing, and that really helped us match the offline conversions that we weren't getting from Facebook. So what's interesting now is we're actually seeing a higher number of offline conversions in our reporting rather than direct conversions from Facebook, where it used to be the opposite. So that's been very interesting to sort of watch how the reporting has changed over the past, year essentially since iOS 14 was rolled out. Another big trend was QR codes made a comeback. Like, who would have thought? It was actually something we sunset in our product ages ago because no one was using it. And then boom, the pandemic happened and everyone's using QR codes. So, but really that highlighted the importance of mobile first engagement. So as sports, makes it returns to in-person events and really fans are back in the stands again, we're seeing a huge spike in mobile engagement leveraging the QR codes. And in the past, fans, when they would come to the arena, they would go to some sort of on-site activation where they would touch an iPad or something like that. And since COVID, obviously, that's no bueno. So, teams had to figure out ways to engage fans safely. And pretty much everyone has a mobile device now. So everything really today is about displaying QR codes on jumbotrons and posters and ads so that they can just quickly scan it, participate from their own device, sitting in their own seat. And I think the possibilities are we're only scratching the surface of what's possible there. Like, I think the future of where that will go is being able to like sit in your seat and order food and have your beer delivered to you at your seat. Like, that would be like such a VIP experience, I think. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to do way more with QR codes as well too. Um, and then, yeah, I'd say, I mean, the last big thing, I know we've all got Zoom fatigue now, but live streams were actually a really great way over, the pandemic to convert fans to purchase merch. So we actually, I know in our own live stream product, we built a Shopify integration right into the tool. And it was interesting to see how many fans our partners were able to convert to purchase merch while they watched the live stream. And what was really key there was not sending your fans away to a separate experience to purchase, is giving them the opportunity to check out right there within the experience without having to leave the page. And I think we saw conversion rates up to 50% with some of our partners. For the fans who were watching, their favorite band play, they would launch exclusive merch only available at that live stream. And so of course fans jumped on it, and it was a no-brainer. So yeah, it was really, really cool to see how people engaged with live streams over the past year.
Yeah, I mean, like, speaking of the whole like live stream and engagement with merch that's just like within the actual platform itself, I feel like there's been a huge movement just in general towards merch and this like kind of like hype train and identity building that kind of like commerce can have to connect like fans with certain artists. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. I feel like there's going to be more that comes out of that as well, not just like live streams per se, but like we're in the world of hype. So definitely think that like merch is going to be huge 2022 forward as well. But yeah, on that note, I guess like seeing how things have transitioned over the last year, speaking of QR codes, like live streams, like what are the trends that you see on the horizon for 2022?
Totally. I think the big one is, we're seeing everyone ramp up their social advertising dollars now, and everyone's planning on doubling down in that channel this next year. So it's going to be very competitive. And, especially with events coming back, music festivals coming back, sports events, fans are back in the stands. Brands really need to stand out in 2022, and they'll have to really work harder to create ads that mirror and enrich the experience offered by each social network. So, for example, a TikTok ad versus an Instagram ad, it will require completely different content approaches. So I think it's going to be more important than ever for marketers really to be in lockstep with their content team and making sure that they're creating content that resonates with fans who are engaging on that channel. Because you're not going to be able to have that one content approach fits all, which traditionally worked in the past. I think you're going to really have to double down your efforts on making content specific to each channel. And on that note, like the value of co-creation in social will be more important than ever. Creativity on social has really thrived with the removal of gatekeepers and really the democratization of tools and the fluidity of remixing what's already out there. So now the process of content creation is becoming really communal, and the movement is really being spearheaded by younger audiences with collaborative mindsets, and it's being enabled by tools and formats that encourage collaboration. So you're seeing now that your newsfeed is becoming increasingly a place to co-create rather than just consume. So TikTok's rise was the tipping point, right? The fundamental features and formats of that platform are duetting with other people's videos and using their audio and so on. So really ensuring that communal creativity is at the heart of its content. I know Dua Lipa, she launched a TikTok competition for people to collaborate on her music video for her single Levitating. And submissions garnered over, I think, 4.7 million views in just 6 weeks. So that's a really good example of how brands can stop behaving like gatekeepers and really foster creativity with their fan base.
Yeah, on that note, like when it comes to kind of like finding co-creators or encouraging that kind of environment for your fans, do you have any advice for like smaller brands on how they can reach out to their fans or how to foster this type of community for their own brand?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you take a look at something like TikTok or even Instagram Reels, there's already audio that you could be using, and there's already content you can be encouraging people to duet with or to recycle the audio of. So I would really come up with a strategy of you could choose to jump on a trend that's already happening. I would try and recommend sticking with more of the niche trends that don't have a ton of views yet on them, because that's more of an opportunity to kind of go viral. When you're trying to jump on a trend that there's already millions and millions of people participating in, it's very easy to get lost in that mix. So definitely, if you're going to jump on a trend, jump on a smaller, more niche one. And if you are deciding to make your own trend, like Dua Lipa did, where she's like, you should duet this, and TikTok, with me, essentially. TikTok, oh my God, I sound so old. You should duet me. It's really encouraging her fan base to participate and, garner some excitement around her new album. Taylor Swift is a great example who, she's been dropping little Easter eggs with her fans to kind of get them excited for the upcoming album release and new songs that she's launching. And so that's a perfect example of how you can leverage technology to engage with your fans and give them a little bit of work to find the answers, but also create excitement along the way. So really, it's an opportunity to be creative and try new things, if anything.
Yeah, I love that. Like, I love the idea that things aren't so necessarily like transactional anymore. Like, there's that level of engagement with your fans. Like, there's new, interesting, and creative ideas. And like, I mean, obviously, like, I love the co-creation. Like, it leads to so much more interesting content for all of us to consume. So that's great. Um, but yeah, I guess like shifting gears a little bit, like as somebody who's worked on the intersection between marketing, strategy, social, um, and like advertisement, do you have any advice or things that people should be aware of when it comes to digital marketing and the things that are happening on the horizon?
Yeah, for sure. I think one report I always tell people to read every single year it's called the Digital Report, and it's put out by We Are Social. They usually team up with Hootsuite to put it out every year, but that's a really great quarterly. They do one big stats report at the beginning of the year, but they actually update it quarterly with stats on how internet and social media is being used globally. And they also break it down by country, but there's some really great insights in there that marketers can take away and apply to their own strategies, because you first need to understand, who is our audience, what demographics are they, and then how are they using social? Are they using this network? Are they doing this network? What kind of content do they prefer? Once you have those insights, then you can actually put together your strategy and execute on it. So I think that's a key part, is making sure you have the most relevant, up-to-date data to work with before you go ahead and start creating your content and execute on your, paid ads, etc. The other key thing is like first-party data. I can't stress that enough. Is if anything, this year was a really big wake-up call that you need to make sure that I think Instagram went down. What was it? Less than a month ago. Their total platform went down, and businesses and creators and influencers were all affected by it. And so if you are sitting there and you're saying to yourself, yeah, that affected us, maybe it affected our sales for a period of time or whatever, that is a wake up call for you to make sure that you are consistently owning your own data. Do not let Facebook or any of the networks own your audience data, because it can be taken away at any moment. So definitely make sure you're converting your third-party data into first-party data. Get your fans who are following you on social to sign up to your email newsletters, to opt in to hear from you via SMS communication. This way you can have direct contact with your fans rather than needing to go through the networks in order to access them and pay to access them, right? It's a lot, and especially SMS, like it's one of the most rising platforms right now that everyone is getting on board with. And I think it's such a smart move to be moving towards SMS, because everyone has a mobile device nowadays. The open rates on SMS are incredible. Like, people usually open a text message within 3 minutes. The open rates are usually like 90%. When you compare that to email, it's like night and day. So it's a really quick and easy way to get important information right into the palm of your fans' hands. So yeah, definitely, for sure.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, it's not awesome because obviously there's many changes coming on the horizon
Mhm.
for digital marketers, but it's good to know that there are ways to kind of hedge your risk against those changes
Yeah.
coming down the line.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess like one of the final questions that we usually have for folks on our show is basically, do you have any advice for people who are like looking to break into the industry of social, of digital marketing, or just in general, like dipping their feet into this entire world that we have?
Absolutely. I'd say soak up all the information you possibly can get online. I can't stress how fast this industry moves. The things you may have learned 10 years ago, I guarantee you are probably irrelevant if you try to apply that to your marketing methodology today. So it's really important that you're, watching YouTube videos and online courses. I know Thinkific and a bunch of creators and smart agencies and stuff have started launching online courses, making sure you're subscribing to relevant email newsletters and just really following the right brands and the right thought leaders to stay on top of the latest trends. And, because I guarantee you, no matter what interview you apply for in this industry, they're going to ask you about the latest trends, and they might quiz you on them a little bit. So it's really, really important that you know your stuff and you know what's happening in the industry. If you don't know about iOS 14, start researching it, start seeing how it's affecting things, because these are things that companies want to know that you have answers to, and that you have solutions or at least creative ideas on how to work around them. The other thing I would say is try and put in some like internship or volunteer time to get some experience under your belt, even if that's just like launching your own little agency and helping out a friend with their social or something as a gesture of goodwill, or working off commission or something. So if it's a good way to make sure that this is in fact an industry that you want to pursue, but it also might make you realize, oh, I actually thought I would be interested in this, but I'm actually interested in this, which is a specific part of this industry. So I think it's always really great too to just connect with people in real life and over LinkedIn and just engage in conversations and put yourself out there. I know it can be kind of intimidating to put yourself out there, especially when everyone lives behind a screen nowadays. But I think it's really important to make sure that you're talking about these changes with other people and learning what they're trying and what they're applying, so that you can put that into some of your own ideas and things that you might be bringing to a new brand or someone that you're interning with, etc. And also just don't be afraid to like bring ideas to the table. I think especially too, a lot of brands are looking to tap into the Gen Z generation, like tap into their interests and how they like to use social. And for you to be able to come in and be like, hi, real talk, Gen Z doesn't care about that, I think is really valuable to a lot of brands who are trying to reach that younger audience. If you are that younger audience, you bring direct insight and feedback and ideas to the table. So don't be afraid to bring those ideas up, but do it in a way where you're also coming at it from a humble perspective, that you also are there to try it and learn from it, because not all ideas will succeed, but they're all meant to be learning experiences. So that's the key takeaway.
No, I love that. And I guess like even for all of us who are already in the industry, like consistently learning, consistently reaching out, um, subscribing to those things is so important because, like, case in point, this last year's changed the landscape quite a bit, and it's always evolving. So I feel like those like apply to people who are new to the industry, but like also people who are like already vested within the industry as well. So that's great. Yeah. So to wrap it all up, we like to just bring it back to something that like all of us have a fundamental tie to is basically like your fan moment. So could you tell us a little bit about your like fundamental fan moment and what it meant for you?
Oh man, I've got so many to share. I think the thing is, my fan moments are different because I worked in television and entertainment for so long. I was never really starstruck. So I had to learn to be very professional in environments where I was around musicians and actors and everyone. So for me, I have had the the wonderful honor and luxury of meeting so many amazing musicians, artists, bands. And, you know, there's so many little funny stories along the way, but it's not, I couldn't compare that to being like, oh my God, I went to this music festival and I saw blah, 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 you know, because I was probably working the music festival. So for me, it's a bit of a different experience. I definitely have a lot of funny stories along the way that were memorable for sure. You know, you discover things about certain artists that you don't always
Oh no.
know. Like, I didn't realize that Bon Jovi doesn't like to take elevators. So when you find this out 5 minutes before he arrives, you know, and you have to figure out, oh my God, I got to get him to the stage, not via an elevator. I need to find where the stairwell is like, for me, those are memorable moments because you kind of have to just be like, okay, this is that person's thing, and I'm just gonna roll with it and go with it. So yeah, there's lots of funny little moments along the way, some good, some bad. There was definitely some, let's say, artists or musicians who are slight diva-ish that I'm like, I never want to work or see you again. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, especially now, we've been like, it's been so long since we've seen live music that like seeing my first live show again since the pandemic literally gave me goosebumps. Like, it was just indescribable to have everyone together again, singing at the top of their lungs. Just, there's nothing like it. And you forget how special and precious those moments are until they're taken away. So for me, I'd say as of today, my fan moment is just being back to seeing live music again. And, you know, being in a room full of people who are all singing at the top of their lungs. So
That's beautiful. I feel like, yeah, all of us can relate to that. Like, it's just been too long since those moments. And yeah, that human connection is like a part of every fan moment, I feel like that's what makes it. So
yeah, fun times. So it's good to have it all back. I'm glad we're back.
Yeah, definitely. So that concludes everything on What's Kraken today. Thank you so much, Alicia, for joining us today.
My pleasure.
It's been a pleasure having you on. And for everyone who's watching, stay tuned for the next What's Kraken. We'll be back to you in no time with another great What's Kraken.